Mojang has finally responded to the community's concerns about the new villager trading changes they were looking to make in the next Minecraft update. These were first shown off towards the end of July in a brand new snapshot and beta, which made librarian trades not based on the number of times you break their lectern, but instead based on the biome. This removed randomness, but also made it a lot harder to get, say, mending, something the community had a lot of feedback on, feedback which Minecraft has started to respond to by saying, fine, we'll kick the can down the road, this won't be in the next Minecraft update, 1.20.30 is safe, and we can tell that because of what is in the current beta, and also the message Mojang themselves left. So what is Minecraft going to do about the new villager trading they still want to introduce, and more importantly, what is this next update going to be if it has one of the shortest changelogs ever? Let's dive into that today, because it is an interesting beta, 1.20.30.25. That is a lot of dots for a Minecraft update title to have, but simply put, 1.20.30 is going to be the next medium-sized update for Minecraft Bedrock. It's going to have smaller features and bug fixes that they don't want to wait until 1.21 to release, and this is just the 25th build for that. Although this starts at 20, so it's more like the 5th, and so you might assume with such a big version number, this is going to include lots of new features, right? And so let's look at them all together. Oh. Well, there's no new features in this week's preview, but obviously they're going to have fixed a lot of things from Minecraft's past. A lot of bug fixes must be included, right? Except no, there is precisely one. They fixed an issue where the boat wouldn't spawn in water if the block underneath the water was highlighted. This is something which is kind of annoying about boats. You have to place your boat on the surface of the water, and you can't place it down on the block underneath. This is something they supposedly have fixed, but let me show you what happens when you do the new fixed behavior. If I try to place the boat underneath the water right here, instead of placing it, it just removes the boat from my inventory. It doesn't remove it and put it in the inventory somewhere else here. Nope, it just makes the boat vanish forever. And so this is a bug that they have fixed by actually making it worse. They also made a change to one of the commands for people playing previously to 1.19.84. It's a very interesting thing that they've done, but long story short, yeah, Minecraft actually went ahead and made a bug fix that didn't do anything, and so we have a negative feature update unless you are using those commands prior to 1.19.81. It's very, very interesting to me that this has happened, but why would they make such a tiny bug fix for an update which is going to actually include quite a few features? I would say there are two likely explanations, given that they put so much more thought into the experimental trading changes, which do make up a part of the changelog. I think that this means this is their focus in some way, and so either they're going to make some big update next week, they're going to have a lot of things which just couldn't make it into the beta this week, but more likely, in my opinion, given that 1.20.20 was delayed, is that they want to ship this as soon as possible. This could be the last beta for 1.20.30, although maybe hopefully not, given what it did with the boat changes. The last beta would be a great candidate for the last 1.20.30 beta, and that would allow them to release all of these changes which have been building up. There's quite a few now, because it's two full medium-sized updates, which they can release all at once, perhaps as soon as 2 weeks from now. This means we would be able to play the update as soon as September 12th if this is the last beta, but there is a chance it's not the last beta because of this giant change that they mentioned right here. They rather than focusing on features and bug fixes and all of the other changes, instead the changelog for this specifically mentions the experimental trading changes, which are still found within this beta and preview, but explicitly aren't a part of the main game. Instead, you activate them by going into the game and you go to your settings. You have to enable an experimental setting if you want the new villager trading changes. That means if they release the update as it is today, as it looks like they very well might do, we would not have the villager trade rebalancing until at least 1.20.40, or in other words, at least another month or two from now, which means that, yeah, they are kicking the can down the road on the short end, which is a good idea when the community is so divided, but they have got a much better put together explanation. Thank you to everyone that has sent in their suggestions and feedback regarding the experimental trade change. We are trying out these changes to rebalance the villager trade system and make it more fair and fun for everyone. However, these changes are not yet final, and they will stay as experimental features while we continue to work on them. We still need your feedback to help us improve and decide, so please continue to let us know what you think of the new trades, what you like and dislike, and what suggestions you have at aka.ms, and then they give you a link basically to this feedback site where they're asking for people's feedback, and you can also upvote other people's. There is currently 17 pages of this for Mojang to go through, and there are some really interesting pieces of feedback in there which have been very well upvoted in some cases, and so clearly Mojang is going to at least consider them, and so we'll have to dive into those in a second, but for now they're clearly mentioning saying that they are trying out changes, and this makes me think they're doing internal betas and snapshots rather than externally. If you look at the most recent snapshot, it has the same thing as this beta, where it's basically no changes being made, and that makes me think all of their efforts are being focused on how do they make these trade changes work in a way that doesn't result in these sorts of comments that result in people saying they really don't like it. So that is a really big challenge for them to have as a game developer, although it is sort of self-imposed, because all they have to do is revert the changes, right? I mean, Mojang have said they're being very careful about what they add to Minecraft and what they don't, and that is why the last few updates have been so restrained. They're trying to work out what is worth putting in Minecraft, doing the design first, and so the simplest design way to make the most people happy with trading is simply not to change it whatsoever and let people have the system exactly how they had it before. And this does seem like an easy solution on the surface, but it is obviously just that. It's an easy solution. It isn't addressing the core problem, which Mojang does see with trading. However, ideally, they would like to address these changes and make them better while also improving the game, which is why they've been soliciting feedback. And today I think we go through some of the biggest pieces of feedback to see what Mojang is actually taking from the community on this, because they do want to at least make some changes, and they wouldn't ask for the feedback unless they're either one, trying to just make people, like bore themselves out and, give the feedback and assume they've made their changes, but more likely, I think, is that they're trying to implement, changes that do adjust for the worst things that people don't like about it. And so what are these suggestions? So when most people see this feedback Minecraft thread, which is the kind of version of Reddit that Minecraft would prefer you use, the top comment is the one that people will see first. This one saying, "I'm not sure how I feel about the change, but in Superflat Minecraft, how do you guys expect us to get the books? We have an entire SMP on Superflat and need the nerf not to happen there." And so this is the sort of thing that I think Mojang should be listening out for. A lot of people don't like the changes because, yeah, they don't want to see Minecraft changed, and they wouldn't be happy with any set of changes that didn't make things exactly how they are now, but some people have a valid concern that really needs to be addressed even within the current system. Allow people to get different biomes of villagers or different trades within a single biome world. Also, for example, if you scroll through here, you see, are trading halls not a thing developers think of as legit at this point? I think making librarians follow a set of rules that make more difficult to set up robust trading halls seems like a bad overall nerf unless there's either a way to fake biomes or move villagers easily. This is something that they could do. They've actually set up commands that like to change biomes on the Java edition. Maybe there could be ways to fake the biome for the purpose of how a villager spawns. This is something that already happens right now. When you're in a cave biome, even if it's a dripstone cave or a deep dark, it uses the biome of the above ground to work out which biome the villager should be. So maybe the biome the villager spawns in is not just based on his biome, but maybe some of the blocks as well. That would be a great idea that allows people to go through some of the effort, if they want to have a swamp villager without having to cart him all the way across their world. And so yeah, there's a lot of suggestions like this which have a lot of votes on the first page, but where I think this gets really interesting is the fact that there are 500 comments and most of these aren't on there. Also, look, this is an amazing change. Mending has always been too easy to obtain. It's a lot of people who read the comments on this video or who are about to leave one now will forget that a lot of people actually like this and think that mending should be maybe harder in one hand, but more consistent is something a lot of people would love. Even if you love how easy it is now, wouldn't you love a more consistent mending that at least takes some work you can work towards rather than randomly rolling the dice for hours in a row? Speaking of rolling the dice for hours in a row, not a huge fan of the experimental villager changes. Dealing with them is difficult enough, and spreading the books out depending on which biome they're in sounds like a pain. It is true. It sure would be great if you had all those biomes close together, but Seed Sunday plugging aside, I think this is a really good point. And yeah, just going through these comments, you see endless, suggestions, some of which are really constructive, like a change that would make this more enjoyable would be increasing the spawn rate of zombie villagers, and then there are some comments which are much less, saying like, basically, more grind? Nah. I'm not averting you, friend. Or I think this change is horrible, or I like this concept, but I don't think it follows good design principles is a much better example. I am very opposed to this change. Villager trading could use some work, but this is not a good solution. Why don't you make it so if you're bringing item, like an axe to a villager, and he gives enchantments based off that item and his level? Almost like you're talking to the villager. Has this guy just invented the enchantment table? What if when you want an enchantment, you could go to someone with like your item and a currency, and then maybe, that item or block even could give you enchantments based on the item you give him? I think that would be a great idea, but I also think that's the kind of the problem, right? The enchantment table really does suck by comparison to some of these things, which is why it's so hard to fix. You can't easily get a jungle or a swamp, so I think you should add jumble or swamp village, or you can keep the original features, but make good books such as mending and unbreaking incredibly rare, and another way to get these books which involves exploring. See, that is another another good idea. This is a great example of saying, yeah, if you want us to go to a swamp village to get the best books, you need to make a swamp village actually obtainable in a realistic sense. I think these are the concerns which they could actually address with more playtime. I think balancing can only go so far. At some point, the easiest way to make a feature happier is to go through the changelog and actually start working out how you make a swamp village, how you make a jungle village, how you make these things balanced within that, and actually adding more choice for the player rather than taking away choice. I think that is an important thing. So there's a lot of feedback from the community about this, and you can leave your own if you go to the feedback Minecraft thread. I'll link it down below, but if you want to find it, just type 120, 30, 25, and you'll find it that way. However, it's worth mentioning a lot of people have their feedback, and Mojang's going to go through it all, but what do I think is a good solution? If I was to play God here, what would I do in Mojang's place? I think the simple answer is you need to have enough new content for people to think the new system is better than the old. I would say, for example, having the jungle villager just have Unbreaking 2 is way too underpowered. You need to have it be Unbreaking 3, give it to a real type of villager that exists now, make Unbreaking more easily obtainable than Mending. That would be a great step 1, but step 2 is give a new enchantment that is obtained this way so people want to craft these new villagers from scratch and they want to use your new mechanic. Rather than taking something away and saying, if you want to use it, try our new thing, instead give something back to the player. This is always how good design is done, in my opinion, because there is one of the loss aversion principles is that losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100. This is why gambling is not seen as very fun, but people love to buy insurance, even though insurance is reverse gambling. It hurts a lot more to lose something you have than it does to gain something of equivalent value, and so Mojang needs to take that into account and give people something that is a lot more than equivalent value, or rebalance it in such a way that people shouldn't notice, but with something this big, I don't think that really works. And so that is my idea as the solution to this. I do think, regardless of what comes out of this, the big news today is that 1.2030 looks like it's finally going to be coming out. They're not going to wait for this whole, villager thing to be done, and instead, Bedrock players can enjoy Wandering Trader trades, which include cherry samplings, can enjoy brand new sleep game timers for multiplayer servers, and all of the other things that are coming in this update. That is the exciting bit to me. I have been waiting for this for so long. I haven't been able to play super flat since the update because we can't get any cherry trees. Wouldn't it be great if we actually could? The answer is yes, and that's kind of my take on this. But what do you think about Mojang kind of delaying this again and again and again? Should it take them months to design something like this, or should they have a decent idea, stick it to the community, and say yay or nay, rather than being like yay, nay, or what if we wait a month and then do basically the same thing? I would love if Mojang does come out with this with a really good idea, but it feels as though sometimes, Minecraft has this real opinion of like, yeah, we need to work out the right way to add something, but sometimes that takes like a month of their time, and it's like, well, was that worth a month of development time that could be spent making much better, bigger things, rather than perfectly, balancing this? They could add bigger features which people would care about more. A new enchantment is a great idea, but so is a new village type, so is a new villager type, so is making these trades apply to different types of villager, so maybe the farmer would farm different things based on the biome. There are so many fun ideas you could work with to make this more appealing, and I think a lot of those involve adding more content, but maybe that's just my desire for more vanilla content. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you think Mojang is being reasonable, or maybe the opposite. Either way, I hope you'll enjoy this video, and I look forward to seeing you for my mushroom live stream, which is probably happening right now, so go give it a watch. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you that time. Goodbye.